It's been less than a week since we streamed.
Welcome back.
Because we did Tuesday. Oh, it's my phone. It's my
Again.
phone. I did it. I thought I learned.
Jordan.
I thought I broke the habit, but I didn't.
Welcome back. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. This is Testing Normal episode 41. 42, I meant.
Yep.
And this is Curtis.
And this is Jordan.
This is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything we want. Suckers.
Yep.
And we are excited to have a hot topic tonight and to have a good friend on that has experience with this topic. He's been personally experienced this many times.
Many times.
The topic today we're gonna broach on the subject of bullying. And we have a good friend Luke on today. Luke Zedwick.
We've had him here before.
We've had him here before.
His book is out now.
It's out. It's ready.
I have 3 copies
on
at my
Amazon.
House.
I believe.
I've read none of them.
That's more than me. I only have 2.
Oh, well, yeah.
Other than Amazon, what's the title of the book, Luke?
The title is Problem Solvers.
And other than Amazon, where else could they find this book?
Amazon's the place to go.
Is it?
Yeah.
Could they go onto Google and then type it in and be able to purchase it from Google?
No, because it's a Kindle Direct Publishing. So,
which is kind of cool. Explain that.
yeah. So
I didn't know you could do this.
In the past, right? If you were going to self-publish, you ended up having to put a ton of money up front, buy a bunch of author copies,
Right.
and that sort of funded the run of the print, with the hope that if you sell them at a markup, you'd make money.
Right.
Okay.
So what Kindle Direct Publishing does is they don't print anything until someone clicks and pays to order it.
That's so cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I can get
Which is so much less wasteful, too.
it's incredible. There's no stocking, there's no shelf with a bunch of them on it, and
Right.
I only buy the ones that I want, so that if I'm going to do a book signing or something, I'll get several copies.
Right.
Or if people order them directly from me, and then I can drop ship it to their house. Like I don't even
Right.
bring it to me.
Right, because that was where, because what happened, that why I got 3 copies wasn't because I liked you 3 times as much as anyone else. It was
I'm
because
disappointed about that.
we had pre-ordered one, forgot we did. Then Haley said to pre-order it, and I had forgotten we had, so I pre-ordered it, and she forgot she told me to pre-order it, so she pre-ordered it, and then we ended up with 3 copies.
That's awesome.
But I texted you, I was like, I didn't get this yet. Where is it coming from? You're like, it's coming from Amazon.
From Amazon.
And I was like, wait,
Yeah.
what? So
it's cool.
It's cool deal. I like it because it saves trees and energy and
Yeah.
So, going on the concept, basically, of bullying today,
Yeah.
Luke has experience with the subject, not only personally being a bully, no, I'm just kidding, maybe, but having
okay, he's been accused. We'll get into that.
I have.
Having
it's true.
practiced
Accused.
as a trained principal and spent many years as a teacher as well.
Yep. Middle school.
He has seen the ramifications of bullying in children, but also seen the way it helps to shape in some ways and strengthen them perhaps. And so it's an interesting topic because on media today there's so much correlation that people are suggesting with bullying and then leading to potential, worst case scenario mass shootings or negative kind of like basically setting these children up to fail perhaps because of the trauma, the PTSD, the depression, anxiety that comes with bullying. So we wanted to kind of broach that subject a little bit and kind of maybe talk about some controversial concepts with it and ideas and just kind of spend a little bit of time going over some of that stuff.
Well, and what I want to say to start is that the point is not controversy.
Right, yeah.
The
It is a
point-
controversial topic.
It is a controversial topic, mainly because people have had terrible experiences with it, right? And the conversations I've had, the times that that my conversations on it have become public or that I've made them public, I hear consistently people's stories. But what I also hear is that they don't understand their own story. In the sense that as an adult in the room watching kids and how the dynamic of their struggle for power takes place as they grow up, I think I can see things that kids don't see. And so as an adult who's been through it as a kid, right?
Right.
Your memory of it is as the kid. Even though now you're an adult, you think of yourself as, I was me back then.
Right.
What you don't realize is all the things you didn't understand then, you're still assuming are true. And so I want to talk about it because I want people to be able to help their own kids going through it. Because if you never figured your own experience out, you're not going to be able to help your kid.
That's really good.
True.
The idea of, when you remember that trauma, you remember it through the eyes as you were a child, or that bullying incident.
Right.
And so as a kid, you have a certain weight and a certain value you place on those things that you wouldn't as an adult.
Right.
But it still has the same emotional connection and the same emotional pain that you might feel.
Well, part of what I've been exploring lately is this idea of that you hear so much in social media, especially people being really open about their anxiety, about the trauma that they've been through. Mm-hmm. And this is a topic that's really dear to my heart because I want to figure out how to help people both to process the trauma they've experienced, but also to be less vulnerable to being traumatized by life. Because life's going to be hard.
Right.
But it doesn't have to traumatize you just because it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if someone never worked out, they wouldn't get stronger. And that is trauma to the muscles. So to some extent, causing trauma helps to strengthen you, but you could also just like sever the muscle. And that's too much trauma.
It's a really strong metaphor.
Right.
If someone who's not an athlete went and worked out with athletes, it would be traumatizing.
Yeah.
And so
Haley
the question
just commented
is,
on our sweaters.
Or
she
an
said,
athlete.
The sweaters.
No one mentioned that we're all sweaters.
Yeah. Or an athlete that goes and works out with a mathlete would have a difficult time with that too.
Right. No, totally.
That's hard math.
Or a mathlete working out with an athlete.
Right.
Yeah. Super difficult.
Either way, both ways are very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Would that be cross training?
That would be. Is that CrossFit? Would that be called CrossFit?
That's actually what CrossFit is. It started out as that, and it turned into a bunch of kettlebells.
math
like
whiz.
Chess boxing. Have you heard of chess boxing?
No.
Where you do a round of boxing, and
then
then you play chess for a certain number of minutes, and then you go back in the ring, and it's back and forth. And
There's some on
What?
YouTube. Yeah,
you
there's
can only
some YouTube
win. Yeah, it's.
I don't know exactly.
I don't think it's going to take off as a sport.
I don't know how the point system
That's
works.
kind of a niche thing. Like somebody that
seems
can
like-
box and
I
play
think
chess
you-
well.
Seems like it'd be popular in Russia.
I think you either win
Yeah.
if you knock out the other individual, or if you
You get a checkmate.
Checkmate.
That could take hours.
Maybe.
Do you keep boxing until the checkmate or until someone gets knocked out?
What if you can only move the chess pieces when you have enough time away from the other person? You're like, I gotta move, and then like
It's a timer, right? Remember the chess timer.
Don't.
Anyway,
Yeah.
side topic.
sidebar? Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, wow.
So with bullying, Luke, I guess some of the questions I have that you might have experienced.
Yeah.
With children and bullying, there's a range of severity that the bullying takes
The
place.
football keeps rolling back into frame.
I'm curious, like, how do you know? And it might depend on the child as well, the level of bullying that is good for the kid versus how much is too much. Like, when does it cross the line? Like, this bullying actually is going to make this kid stronger versus this is going to cause PTSD and long-term.
I guess what you're asking is when.
How do you decide it is
when
good?
does that conflict? When should someone step in? Like an adult step in?
Right. It's a fine line. I mean, this is a big debate, especially
as a principal that's experienced this.
Right, especially at kids who are at a young age, right? So I was a principal for an elementary school, but I taught middle and high school, and then now I've taught university. And so you have to gauge their level of skill at problem solving themselves.
It's like emotional ability.
Emotional resilience. Right,
Yeah.
right. So the question that teachers often come to is, do you need my help? And bullying is just a one-sided power struggle. That's all that is, right? People use the word bullying when they really mean being mean.
Yeah.
For example, being mean is not bullying.
Right.
Being mean is I wanted to hurt your feelings or hurt your body in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Sometimes friends are mean to each other.
Right.
Sometimes strangers are mean to each other. But what bullying is specifically saying I want to hurt you in particular. So I'm targeting you for aggression and repeatedly.
Yeah.
So that is not mean?
So
You're saying?
Bullying is like saying I'm not just a mean person and I'm rude and I hurt people's feelings all the time.
Right.
Bullying is I think I could hurt Jordan and I really want to and I'm going to keep doing it.
Okay.
Right? It's a
And
targeted
so it is
aggression.
mean as well, though. It's an aggression potentially with mean connected to it.
It's like a step above mean.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like a few of the wars we've been in.
Well, it's human relationships, right?
Right.
It's there's a universal element to it.
Right.
So we talk about a scale. There's rude behavior.
Okay.
Then there's mean behavior. So rude is like hurting someone, but not meaning to hurt them, just being thoughtless.
Yeah. You're putting yourself first.
The bossy kid is rude.
Right.
Right.
Or the kid that's not paying attention to shove someone out of the way.
Yeah. And then all the classic ways people are rude. And rudeness means you didn't think of others. And that's how everyone is sometimes.
Right.
It's how some people are a lot. And there's a training aspect to that. It's impulsive behavior, rudeness is. Meanness is I wanted to feel better, so I was mean to someone else. But then to go to bullying is to say I've picked out someone to humiliate them or to gain power over them in some way, so that I can feel powerful.
So could you say that? Would that mean that like bullying is necessarily repetitive? Like it's not a one-time event?
Yeah, so the experts, and I'm not a researcher in any way, but every research I've heard about it, that's how they define it.
Is repetitive.
Is a repeated targeted aggression. And so the trick is people will use the word bully all the time,
right,
to mean rude or mean or actual bully. And so when you just say the word, the other big misconception, I think this is even bigger than the definition question. The other misconception people have is they think they got bullied because whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So I've had people send me letters saying, I got bullied terribly because I was overweight or because I was gay or because I had glasses or my parents were divorced. You know, they tell you, and then they think we've got to protect the kids who were in the category that I was in. What they don't realize is that's not why they were bullied. The kid who wanted to hurt you, he targeted you or she, because it's just as common in girls as it is boys, but
really? It's pretty split.
It tends to behave differently. It looks differently with girls.
Okay.
But it's still there.
More passive aggressive, maybe.
It's a more social than physical, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
But they don't care the reason. They'll pick anything. They're looking for a weak spot. So the weak spot might be that you're heavier set than other people,
and you are not as confident because of that.
Exactly. And so what it is there's what a genuine bully,
or insecure.
It's almost like if you think of a predator in the like animal sense, not a predator in the sense of like, you know, we talk about criminal predators
or the movie.
But if you think of a predator versus or the predator, yeah. So if you're a runner, like I've at times been a runner in my life, and dogs want to come after you, right?
Not right now with the ribs you got going on.
No, yeah, the cracked ribs make running hard.
Yeah.
If you're running down a country road and a dog comes after you,
right.
If you run from the dog, which is what you're there to do,
right, the
dog will then want to chase you.
Okay.
If you turn and face the dog, then the dog wants to say, wait, maybe this isn't prey.
Maybe this is a challenge, yeah.
Right? Maybe there's a threat here, and it'll still be as aggressive, but it's now going to test. So what you do is you face the dog, maybe you stomp at it, right? You show yourself to be formidable.
Right.
So what someone who's a bully is sort of falling into that same instinct. They look at a kid and they say, is this kid formidable? Or can I exploit them? I'm going to test out, that's a stupid sweater you're wearing. I'm going to test out you're ugly. I'm going to test out you're fat. Whatever, you're gay. You have glasses.
Right.
And see what sticks. And if you show yourself to be strong and confident, they'll move on. They'll look for something else.
I think that...
I'm turning this heater off.
Yeah, go for it. I think that is it definitely can be true. But I think isn't always true. I think that
nothing is always. It's just trying to understand the pattern. There's a relationship pattern that you can try to look for.
Right. I think in some situations, the bully may not necessarily even be something that sticks, but it may be the fact that the bully themselves has their own insecurities or their own trauma, and they're trying to find an outlet to justify their own insecurities or to counteract their own concerns. And so they project it on somebody else, their own insecurities, or their own issues.
And I wouldn't think we're contradicting. I think you're explaining what I'm trying to describe the dynamic of it.
Yeah. Right.
You're explaining the hunger that fuels it, which is insecurity.
Yeah. You're describing what it looks like. You're describing the why.
Yes. I think it's the who, what, when, and where, maybe.
With the lead pipe. In the observatory.
Colonel Sanders?
Yeah.
Colonel Sanders. Mustard. Colonel Mustard.
Mustard. It's always Miss Scarlet.
So the way I always break it down is I look for, is this kid a power struggler? And this is what my book is kind of about.
Yeah.
Is how to diagnose. Is my kid in a power struggling mode?
Which I love. I love that I've seen your diagrams in your house on a chalkboard, and that each chapter starts with
the diagram.
With the diagram part that you're talking about. It's so cool.
Good.
I love it.
I'm glad it connects. So the question is, are they power struggling or are they only attention seeking? Which is that insecurity?
Oh, yeah. And
so attention seeking is always underneath, and unresolved insecurity drives us to want to control. So some of us we express that by trying to control ourselves too much. Others, or at other times, because we all kind of have both, we try to control others as a way of feeling better that we're, and that others can express itself as domination, as indulging. This is, addiction cycles fall into this,
right?
Where I'm indulging my desires, or in some other way I'm blaming. I can't face my shame, so I blame other people and I take on this victim mentality.
Why do you think, I don't know if you guys have thought about this, I'm sure you have, Luke, and I know it does exist, but why do you think that the bullying topic is more relevant to children than it is adults and in adult circles? Like, it doesn't seem like it's a topic that's ever broached or presented like as adults. Bullying, like how relevant and how much of an effect does it have on society and our situation? Is there a specific thing that like cuts off and it's like, well, bullying just really isn't, people don't care as much when they grow up, or what is it that's more relevant to children versus adults?
I think there's two things. One of them is school is a really weird part of your life where you're forced into this really close proximity with people who are only exactly your age. And so when you get into the adult world where you have so many options of time you spend with different people, even within a work environment, you're going to tend to work in a place where the people are kind of in the same time of life you are, or maybe the same outlook. You have the same values because you went to school for the same thing, or whatever you chose. And so you
have more choice.
You get to choose the people you surround yourself with. And if your boss is terrible, you can leave. You can't leave school.
The choice. So that freedom somehow helps to facilitate a potential reduction in your necessary exposure to bullying.
Yeah, because you can change your surroundings easier as an adult.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have
as a kid, you're kind of
so maybe if there was a way to enhance choice in schools, that would somehow decrease.
So a lot of parents to resolve bullying, because you can't, they want, as a principal or a teacher, I can't know what certain kids are saying every moment of every day. You can't.
Right.
You can't know who's in the bathroom when you send them.
Just put a chip in them as a microphone, tracks them and everything.
Right.
Why not?
I'm sure that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's...
So then there's always going to be an unobserved moment, especially when you get into middle school and beyond, when there's passing periods, when the teachers don't know kids as well because they've got 100, 150 kids every day.
Yeah.
So you don't know the nuance of the relationship between kids. Maybe those kids aren't together in your class, but they are in another class, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas in elementary, you're like their parent. You're with them all day. So you do have more of a hand on that.
Yeah.
The other side of it is because our culture is having fewer kids and later in life.
Yeah, way later.
Those kids have a much higher individual value, because if your kid doesn't turn out well, you don't have 10 other kids that you're also trying to...
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so there's this weird phenomena in the modern era where we become hyperprotective of our kids in all ways. And one of them is our emotional state. And then the result of that, inadvertently, is the kids become like the athlete, right?
Yeah.
If you're avoiding the conflict, if you're avoiding the stressful interaction, you become emotionally weaker. So as communities now, we individually are becoming less and less able to just handle the stressful interactions of the holiday dinner, right? I mean, so much so we all have to gear up for it. How I'm going to talk to my uncle about whether the King James Version is the only version of the Bible that counts. It's like...
Well, I think that's largely where we thought it would be fun to start a podcast where we talk about these things, is people don't, in large, I'm speaking generally, there's a lot of people who have good skills at it, but don't know how to sit down and have a discussion or hang out with someone that they maybe don't agree with on some fundamental things.
Well, then one of the things that we've found, and research really supports this idea, in fact, confirmed it in huge ways, is that kids only get stronger, and adults too. You only get stronger at dealing with this conflict or the stress that could potentially be trauma or remind you of your trauma.
Right.
You only get stronger if you face it and actually have a stressful encounter.
You're right. Something that stretches you. Maybe stressful isn't a good word for it, but it's like it challenges you.
I think stress is the right. So, for example, if you've been through trauma, and you then avoid the feeling.
But not stress in a negative way. I guess that's what I was trying to think of a different word.
Sure.
People equate stress with, well, I don't want to be stressed. It's like the whole.
But
IT
that's where I
crowd
think
episode
they're
is
wrong.
Stress is the big killer.
Right, and research that I've been reading doesn't support that conclusion.
The constant stress could be a killer.
And there's toxic stress and there's healthy stress, right?
Right.
So if you are lifting heavy things every single day, you're going to get injured, and then you just don't stop. Now you're going to have a chronic injury.
Right. True.
And your emotions are the same way.
Right.
But you can never get emotionally strong without some healthy dosing of stress. So in education and in other forms of therapeutic work, they call it dosing. We're dosing this kid with a taste of conflict.
That's interesting.
Right? That we know this kid goes through what's essentially a fight or flight. Their limbic system kicks off.
Yeah.
They're on the verge of panic because I, as an authority figure, walked by and engaged them in conversation. And so I'm going to...
So what would that look like in a perfect world? If you could wave a magic wand and say, this is how we would handle a child and teach them that.
Well,
I mean,
this is what we do. Yeah, what you do is you're trying to create a new pathway in their mind.
Okay.
So what they've had is a repeated experience of trauma that sends them into this panic mode.
Right.
And so what we want to do is initiate that pathway toward trauma, but then create a new...
to veer them off.
Right. Oh, you started to feel it, and now let's calm down. Let's talk it through. Let's make a plan together. Did you see that I didn't engage you in a power struggle? And that's how... The power struggle is how you know. When they start to say, right, when they gear up for the fight, you know, okay, we're going to slow that down because now we've gone down the wrong pathway.
You're going to back off some.
And you're...
I want to throw out some statistics that the U.S. the good old U.S. Gov has thrown out there about
probably really accurate
about bullying.
Maybe close.
A recent one.
Okay.
There's a few different ones. I'm gonna just kind of go over them real quick so people can kind of hear the interesting ideas about bullying. So in the United States, 1 in 5 students aged between 12 and 18 has been bullied during the school year, per students' reports. Students who reported that they were frequently bullied actually did score lower in reading, mathematics, and science than their peers who reported that they were never or rarely bullied. So students that are saying I'm being bullied are having, based on their scores and what they're saying, lower, I guess, skill set acquirement. I don't know.
Right. Are they being targeted because they have a lower skill set, or is it causing...
Is it yeah, right.
Deficit?
Is it chicken or the egg?
It's a huge question.
The most commonly reported type of bullying is verbal.
Course.
Then the next is social.
Yep.
Then the next is physical. Next is
what'd you
physical.
say?
Cyberbullying.
Cyber is actually the lowest. Cyberbullying is 25%. So it says 79% was noted as verbal, 50% as social, the ladies probably more often, 25% physical, probably more often boy, and then cyberbullying 25%, probably more often the non-gender binary. Then number 5. No, I'm just kidding.
I was waiting for like a real answer, and he was like, "That's not it."
Okay, more than half of bullying situations stop when a peer intervenes on behalf of a student being bullied.
Way better than when an adult intervenes.
That's interesting.
Right. Yeah.
So when more than half of the bullying situations stop when a peer does it.
Yeah.
6th grade students experience the most bullying.
Yep.
Which is interesting. 70% of school staff have seen bullying or report seeing bullying. 70%. I would expect it to be higher than that.
That sounds high to me, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Students are less likely to report bullying as they get older, which kind of makes sense. Only 39% of high schoolers notified an adult of bullying. 42% of students who reported being bullied at school indicated that the bullying was related to at least one of the following characteristics. So physical appearance, race, gender, disability, ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation. And the last one is over half of students between ages 12 and 18 who reported being bullied believed their bullies had the ability to influence what other people thought of them.
Right. Because social status is a huge part.
Huge.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a social
aggression.
network. Like being in a high school, being in a middle school, even a grade school is a social experiment almost.
Insecurity kind of fuels both sides. Like it really...
Well, yeah. I'm convinced insecurity is the source. It's what makes stress toxic.
Yeah.
You can be in a really stressful situation without your own insecurity, and it will actually be healthy for you.
Yeah.
Like work. So like I'm thinking for my situation, if I'm at work and I have feeling overloaded with the amount of patients I have to take care of, if I'm confident in my ability to provide the necessary care, it's going to make me be able to handle this better in the future. Yeah. But if I feel insecure, like I can't handle this, I'm nervous that I'm going to do something wrong, I'm not going to be able to take care of this, that is significantly going to affect my ability to grow from that situation.
Well, I've heard researchers say that actually all the negative health effects that we associate with stress only apply if you add insecurity to the stress.
That makes me think a little bit of Dave. I don't know if you guys have listened to Dave Goggins at all. He has a book out, and I've listened to a decent amount of it. And his mentality is basically like anything hard, anything that's really physically strenuous, emotionally or socially, or anything that's hard for me is good for me. Like I want everything hard. I don't want to have anything easy for me, because that hard is only going to make me stronger. But I think because he has the mentality of this is not a
constant,
or I'm not insecure about this. Like I know I have the mindset that this is going to be beneficial for me in the long run, then creates that potential to have.
Well, if you listen to his story, he tells about when his mindset shifted and it was like, oh no, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And that was when it went from insecure, when people talk about wanting to lose weight or I mean, that's always seems to be the common example, but there are so many. They want to improve in some way. Oftentimes, they end up in this pendulum, right? The yo-yo, as the dieting world calls it, but it's swinging back and forth from saying, I want to make myself better, I want to control myself, and then giving up and saying, I'm going to indulge, and I'm going to blame others, and I deserve this, and then I feel bad, I'm going to go back over. So it's the shame and blame cycle. That's in my diagram, right? There's a pendulum at the bottom. That's power struggling.
It's a pendulum, a ladder, a scale.
That's right.
It's great. It's like a game of mousetrap.
There you go. Chutes and ladders.
Yeah.
Chutes and ladders. Yeah. So it's anytime you feel yourself saying, I'm going to make rules to improve myself.
Right.
You can't use insecurity as fuel for anything good.
Right. Yeah, so that was for me, like going to that health thing, like when I realized I could, instead of identifying like what I was doing wrong, identify the positive feelings that I feel from something that's good, and then realizing the negative feelings that I feel from things that aren't so good for me, and like quantifying that, like, how do I pay for this? If I eat this, how am I going to feel? And then, but that's a positive because I'm going to feel better if I don't.
Right.
So it's using positive, like, view to say like, okay, but there are times where I'm like, I'm going to indulge in this, and I know that I'm prepared for that hard whatever.
So going back to bullying, right? Mm-hmm. And my kids two of my boys are in middle school, one's in 5th grade about to enter, and it's interesting that you say 6th grade is the worst, and I would totally agree in my experience with that, because 6th grade is this traumatizing event where you went from a small family oriented elementary classroom to usually there's other elementaries are feeding in, so you've got kids you don't know. Suddenly, you have to rearrange the pecking order.
Right. Yeah.
And you have all these teachers who don't know you, and you're going from time to time through class, through the hallway, unsupervised. In elementary school, you only pass through the hallway supervised.
That's a good point.
Right?
That's a really
so
good
now
point.
You're opening up all of this social pressure that they've never experienced before.
The pressure of, do I get to my locker? Or do they have lockers at 6th grade?
Yeah.
The pressure of like, I have to open a locker by myself. I have to know the code before the class starts.
Well, and that's another thing. They've never had a private space. So now kids are saying, what can I put in this private space?
Yeah.
Check it out, right? So now there's
another kid.
Yeah, each other. That's true. Yeah.
Or a stinky, let's see this concoction I can brew in my locker. I remember that.
So the question is, how do you build confidence? Genuine confidence. If bullying is about saying, I see the insecurity in that kid, and I'm going to feel better about myself by pushing that button, right? And in some cases, it gets so extreme that they begin to say, when I see the weaknesses in others, I hate those people.
Oh.
And there's some theorists who say that's the cause of a lot of racism.
Like they see their own weaknesses in those other people?
Well, no, so some people really despise like people with Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. Or people of race that they think is lower than them. Okay. They see the weakness and they think, I hate the weaknesses of myself, and it like inspires that hate in this strange way. I've seen it kind of be born in kids as they develop, where they start to despise others when they see the weaknesses, right? It's like if you've ever tried to get better at something and then you see someone who's terrible at it and you get really mad at them. Why don't you get better at it, right? It's almost like you're mad at yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an extreme version of that. But so if you can, the question is, how do you train your kids to be confident? Which really rings true for me. That when I started to think that way, I remembered my own experience in middle school, which of course was terrible, right? As most people's is. And that the kids I looked up to the most were the confident kids.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the same as like the cocky or the mean. It was the like, I'm okay with myself. They were secure. And I think, how do you get secure? Well, I think it is that you train, that you struggle, and you overcome. And then from that, kind of like Goggins, you say, I can do it.
That's such a hard thing to do at such a young mind, though, at such a young age, to give them that much security in such a large social arena. Like it's
I don't think it has to be social. Well, so a kid who's just good at soccer or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Is going to have confidence in a lot of arenas because they thought, well, in that area, I know when I worked hard, I could do it.
That's true.
Is that like a different angle to what? So you had this video that we kind of touched on last time we were here.
Oh yeah,
the controversial one where you essentially said like maybe your kid is being bullied because they are annoying.
Right. Which people interpreted to mean because I think they're annoying. Like I'm annoyed by them, which isn't what I meant.
Which is not what you meant. You had like a rebuttal video, and people can go watch either one of them still, right? Like, are they still there? Or
the first one isn't. The second one is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although
I can put it back up.
And it went bonkers. Like you got interviewed on your front porch, and
on the news. Yeah.
And it was grand. There was people involved in it that even thought that I was conspiring to some degree because we were friends on Facebook, and like my name got brought up in one of your staff meetings or something like that, and I was like, what? Like,
well, in a complaint letter.
In a complaint letter, like in SIO, like okay, whatever. So, but in that you said that, but you did talk about like they're annoying because of that. Like what you just said was kind of like the positive side of what you had said, right?
Well,
giving them confidence makes them not the annoying.
A little bit. So some kids, because some kids' reaction to getting targeted is they want to fight back, and that's a natural reaction.
Right.
But when you don't have the confidence, some of the way you fight back is just, I'm going to annoy people.
Yeah.
And there's some kids who just do that anyway.
Yeah.
They just enjoy annoying each other.
In my experience, like a lot of kids.
Everyone who has a sibling on earth at some point enjoyed annoying that sibling.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been the younger sibling, you know sometimes that's your only recourse against an older brother is I can annoy the crap out of him.
Right.
Eventually he beats me up, but still I got a lot of pleasure out of that.
Right.
So those kids go to school, right? And maybe they have an extreme version of that where they see those other kids kind of winning at the social hierarchy.
Right.
They don't know how to engage in it. And then maybe they see two friends who call each other names in a friendly way.
Yeah.
And they think, oh, that's how you do it.
That's how you
and they come up and they annoy and they're not the friend. And they're like, dude, what are you doing? You're not part of this. Yeah. And so they don't get those social cues and they enjoy annoying others.
It makes me as an for those of you that don't enjoy the Enneagram, it's going to annoy you. But as someone that can,
you're so annoying, Curtis.
Can relate to those that identify as an 8. That just it's just like I feel like a passion inside of me when I think of someone that is not in a cool social circle. Mm-hmm. It just bugs me. It makes me so angry. Like I wanted to help that kid. Yeah. Like you're cool. I want you to be like feel that. Like so I get like I feel that strain and that hurt that those kids can feel when they're trying to bug you, but they're also trying to be like, hey, I need a friend. Like I want you to be my friend. Like
there was a cool book. That reminds me of, written by Jocko Willink, if we're going to talk about cool podcast people.
Jocko's
He's got
awesome.
a kid's book, a couple of them.
Jocko does?
The Way of the Warrior Kid.
Oh, what?
And it's a little chapter book
Yeah.
about a fifth grader who's kind of schlubby and doesn't know how to get himself together and wishes he was cool. And his uncle comes to live with him over the summer, who's a Navy SEAL, and trains him and builds in him confidence.
Was his Uncle Jocko?
I was thinking that.
Or
similar. Was the kid Jocko?
Oh.
So there's a twist. So I've got that book for my boys, and we read it and talked about it, and about pursuing a goal. That if you could set out to pursue over a long term, a difficult goal, and then actually accomplish it, there's really no other way to build confidence. There's no other way.
Interesting. So the last thing I want to broach on, as far as
well, hang on just a sec. So to sum that up, would you say, like, to kind of bring that together, is like building confidence in the child is really a good way to kind of shield them from bullying, but not the stress.
Correct. Yeah, it's the way to make the stress healthy.
Yes.
And what happened is the kids,
because they're less apt to be bullied if they have that confidence, because there's nothing to fuel the bullying towards them, because there's nothing that bullying isn't because there's anything wrong with them. It's because there's a weakness that's seen in them. But if you can build that confidence in them, you can build kind of a shield in essence.
What I used to tell kids, like 5th graders especially, because 5th grade was when at the elementary level the social pressure was hitting a peak, and so I would be talking to a kid who maybe was getting targeted.
Yeah.
And I would problem solve with the kid about the social dynamic, because I can punish, like you can't punish as a principal. I can't punish my way into making this kid's social skills better.
Right.
Like there's no one I can punish that will improve his social skills.
You could make him worse.
He's got to do it. Right. Yeah. I can isolate him more by punishing the people who don't deserve it, or maybe over dramatizing things. So what I always would do with the kid is say, look, in the end, you've got to figure this out. I can punish kids for when they do wrong, and I can help you when you need help. But there's going to be, for every time you need help, there's going to be 100 times when you don't really need help. You just need skills. Yeah. So let's learn about the skills. And I said, if a kindergartner came up to you and said, you're an idiot, right? Or I used the insult that was used against the kid, right? If that kid called you fat. If I said, if a kindergarten came up and said you were fat or stupid, what would you do? And the 5th grader will always chuckle and be like, I wouldn't care. And I said, okay, why? Because that kindergartner has no power over you.
Right.
Because you don't put weight to his opinion.
Right.
So you've got to conquer the fact that you've put weight in these kids' opinion of you in your class, that you think their opinion matters the most, which is the insecurity that's fueling your power, because they're power struggling too. The victim and the bully tend to both power struggle.
Yeah.
When that's what the annoying is. The annoying is I'm trying to get back at them to get the upper hand.
Well, they both have insecurities,
and
so
that
kind
fuels
of fighting
the power
for
struggle.
the same reason.
Right. So the time when like I get the most, like my dad mode kicks in of I'm going to protect, is when I see a kid who is getting targeted and has no power struggle in them. That they just are overweight, or they do, maybe they are gay or whatever. And now they're just getting hammered.
Right.
And that usually in that case, there's bystanders fueling, where the kid who's picking
that's interesting.
He knows everybody's watching, and he only does it when, even if it's just one or two of his buddies, he only does it when they're there. And so that's why it says when the bystander steps in, it's more effective.
Right.
So we used to do this training when I taught middle school, bystander training.
Yeah.
And you use this metaphor of a candle, and you say the air that keeps this light, this candle burning, is your attention, right? The conflict is burning because you're watching it. And I said, if you just take it away and you put a glass over it, and the flame just goes out. I said, when somebody's picking on someone else and everyone circles up,
that's fuel.
You're fueling it. Even if you just walked away, you can make it better.
Right.
But imagine if you were so heroic that you could step in and say, I'm with him. I'm with this kid.
Yeah.
That's all you'd have to say, and it would totally change the dynamic of the whole place. Because when the bully is doing that, the bully thinks everyone's on my side against this kid. Because look, they're all here.
It's fueling his insecurity.
Nobody's telling me not to.
It's feeding the
ego.
All
like, enjoy.
Yeah, it's feeding the ego because of the insecurity. It's
right.
Okay, finally I'm doing something that's getting these people on my side because I think so little
and
of
here's
themselves.
here's the cool thing, is the ego is more than, like, the bully is this, I mean, it feels like an 80s teen drama, right?
Yeah.
The way we think about it, we envision these movies that we've seen. And in rare cases, life is like that. But the fact is, insecurity affects everyone.
Yeah.
And we all react to it. When we do poorly, we react to it with a desire to control ourselves and others.
Yeah.
And that comes out in so many different ways for different people, but it always leads to deeper dysfunction.
Right.
And so the cool thing is that's totally universal. And if you can start to see it in your kids, you can help them out of it.
Yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to say about bullying real quick is with cyberbullying that is where I see it more affecting adults. I think.
Yeah.
Cyberbullying is a kind of a
like my accidental comment.
Yeah.
There was so on Reddit there was a picture that popped up and it said, "This is my Christmas card for the year," and it was a girl in like Christmas pajamas outside next to her horse.
Okay.
It was like very odd picture.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a joke, like that somebody posted this picture as a joke. Like nobody in their right mind would make that their Christmas photo. And I commented on there. I can't remember exactly what I said. I think she actually pulled the picture. I said, and it was a slew of comments. And I said, I always tell guy friends stay away from horse
people.
girls.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what they're into, or they'll end up costing you money or something like that.
Right.
the author of that post was her.
Oh, no.
And she commented and she said, haha, she actually took it in stride. Yeah. And I commented, guys, like, I didn't know it was you. I'm super sorry. Thanks for being a good sport about this. Like, it was like, you didn't post this and roast me. But I kind of made it that.
Kind of almost.
So it was good that, like, I was able to kind of comment, but it
really is that the internet gives you this feeling that the people
I wasn't targeting
real.
her. I was targeting all horse people.
But that sense of, I see a picture on the internet, it's not a real person, it's an internet picture.
I didn't think it was her. Yeah. I thought it could be somebody that made it as a joke picture too. Like this is a stereotypical, somebody would do this and they just did it to be funny, but she was doing it to be funny, but seriously.
Right. But that's exactly how like people will say horrifying things that they would never say to a real person. Because there's something about the internet that makes it feel like that's not a real person.
My wife I apparently hadn't told her that story. She said, "Oh my gosh, Jordan." It was funny. She took it and it was funny. She handled
it. She was fine. Also, she's a horse lady, so it's not.
Yeah, it's a horse lady. No, she actually wasn't mad.
Just one more moment of drama.
She LOL'd and it was, anyway, I apologized.
Good job.
I was not trying to target any one person, just the group of horse people.
So we're gonna
I'm a horsist.
We're going to do a shorter podcast here again, guys. We're going to kind of try to keep these a little bit easier for people to listen to. Cool.
Yeah, go find Luke's book.
On
Amazon, apparently only.
Amazon it up. What was the name again, Luke? Say the name.
The book is Problem Solvers.
An
educator's insights for training or raising kids on purpose. Yeah. And then my website's lukezedwick.com.
Lukezedwick.com. Cool. Yeah. And we'll have links to both of those in the show notes. Any last things you want to say before we jump into shower thoughts?
No, jump for it, man. Maybe here's what I would add.
Okay.
The point of all this, it's one thing to diagnose a problem. It's another thing to actually fix it.
Right.
And the thing your kids need is that you train them to get there.
Yeah.
There are these moments, there's inflection moments we all have in our lives where we come to see something in a new way and it changes the direction of our lives.
Yeah.
But even those are after somebody is hammering away at that nail. And so as a parent, sometimes it can be really frustrating that you feel like I've said this 1,000 times and I'm not getting through to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that you're telling them, it's that you're training them. And teaching is a good example. Teachers often say, I taught them that, they should know it.
Right.
And I think in my head, as a principal and as a teacher, if they don't know it, I didn't teach it. I said it, but I only taught it if they learned it. And so you have to take the long view. You have to say, you can watch people free throw. You could shoot a free throw for hours and hours, and you won't get any better at free throws. You might pick up a hint of a technique, but you'll never get good at it unless you go and do it over and over and over. And that's what parenting is. So get patient, get calm, take a long-term view that I'm training them to do better. I'm not telling them to do better.
Yeah.
Will Butrin.
Yeah.
That's really good.
There you go.
Awesome. Love it, dude. So good.
Sweet.
Okay, and we're going to throw some shower thoughts at you, but first I just want to let you all know that I'm really excited because I found out, and this is news that's been out and about already, but I just want to kind of reiterate this because I'm on a Lord of the Rings kick right now. Amazon is coming out with a prequel TV series to Lord of the Rings, even prequel to The Hobbit. The budget for this Amazon episode series is $1 billion.
Shut up.
Oh my gosh. They're just trying to up Disney Plus and their prices.
A deal with whoever owns the rights to Tolkien's stories.
Is this Bezos' divorce agreement? He's trying to get some money out the door quick.
Maybe.
Before the divorce agreement comes down.
They have an agreement with whoever owns Tolkien's, their family, whatever, that they had to start production within the first 3 years of actually buying the rights. And so that was 2017. So they are currently in production right now. And it's supposed to come out by 2021.
I think actually what happened is that when they were negotiating the deal on the price and the budget and everything, someone's like, $1 billion.
Yeah.
And Bezos goes, is that it?
I can do that.
Like
just one.
Great.
Just one?
Great.
Sure.
So that's an exciting thought for all of those out there, those geeks like me. Enjoy. Okay, shower thoughts. Jordan, you want to throw out the first one, buddy?
Yes. I love this one. Memory foam doesn't remember us. It remembers itself without us. When it starts to remember us, we throw it away.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Men wear trousers even though they have stuff hanging between their legs, right? Whereas women wear skirts which allow for free movement even though they have no dangly bits. And also I love saying dangly bits.
Also that phrase, awesome. People who grew up with MySpace in their early teens kind of got a freebie in the terms of their first major social media profile basically being wiped away.
Yeah, it really did.
It's gone.
Wouldn't that be kind of cool if that's what Facebook had?
I tried to go recover mine a few years ago. You can't. It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
The farther away you can wave hi to someone, the closer you are as friends.
It's so true. It is like attention being given.
Yeah,
and
like, the better vision you have, I guess, too.
Yeah. If you were waiting till New Year's to make a change, it's not important to you.
There are 3 types of cats: those who are alive, those who are dead, and those who are inside a box.
That was pretty obscure, that one right there.
Schrodinger.
Yeah.
If everyone on Earth believed in Santa Claus, no one on Earth would receive gifts from Santa Claus.
That's really funny.
There has to be people that keep it alive.
Here's one.
Go for it.
Mars is the only planet entirely populated by robots.
Allegedly.
Boom.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, right? Boom. That's a good one. I like it. Okay, once your kids are old enough to remind you of things, you've essentially given birth to an external hard drive.
If you fly west at a perfect speed, then the days will pass, but the hour will stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
And then suddenly the day will change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Electric eels are pretty much the closest thing we have to real Pokemon.
It's that time of year where the clock can read 5, and you can't tell it's morning or evening based on the sunlight.
That's true. It's like we're in Alaska.
For those of us in the Northwest.
Yeah, for those in the Northwest.
Yeah. If you're in Alaska, it doesn't matter what time it is. It just looks dark.
Ugh, that'd be so depressing. The last one I have is cinnamon technically is sawdust.
It's so true.
I guess so is a lot of like herbs.
No, they're leaves.
Well,
Cinnamon's like a stick.
Yeah. Pepper?
That's
Pepper stick?
peppercorns.
Have you heard of pepper sticks?
No, that's not a thing.
That's not a thing?
A pepper stick? No, there's
Are you thinking of cinnamon sticks?
Cinnamon sticks. Is there not a pepper stick?
No.
There's not a pepper stick.
They're peppercorns.
They're like little balls.
Yes.
Yeah, I love fresh pepper. Don't give me stale pepper. I don't want no stale pepper.
Did people really fight wars over pepper?
I never heard that.
Spices?
Spices?
Yeah.
They
Isn't that what
fought
that was?
wars with pepper.
Oh, was it pepper?
Pepper spray?
I mentioned cinnamon. I could see cinnamon.
Wait. I have a really good one.
Okay.
Flying economy is one of the most expensive ways to feel poor.
Yeah.
There you go. Here, I got a couple.
Okay.
Or leasing a expensive car.
It's true.
Okay, technically speaking, your best friend is your worst enemy.
It's true.
I don't get it.
Because they're the worst at being your enemy.
Oh, I like it. I get it
also,
now.
they have the potential to become your
and they
worst
know you
enemy.
the best, so they have the potential to be your worst enemy.
Here's one. Here's a controversial one we can end on. Homophobia is gay because you spend more time paying attention to gay people.
Or more time, yeah, I guess focusing on
Yep.
your feelings about that. Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I don't know. It's an interesting statement. Oh, dude. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to Testing Normal. This is
episode 42.
Exhilarating. Luke, thank you so much for coming on, buddy.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Isn't 42 the meaning?
It's the answer
this is
to
a
life.
special episode.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
the answer to life, meaning, and everything.
That's right.
Thank you,
All in one
Hitchhikers.
diagram.
Hitchhiker's
Thank
Guide to
you,
the Galaxy.
Hitchhikers.
But here's the thing. They don't know the question.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the answer?
They blew up the computer 1 second before I gave them that answer. So they just know 42 is the answer.
All right. Hilarious. All right, guys. We'll check you out. You check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Twitch.
TestingNormal.com.
TestingNormal.com. We appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Hope you have a great week. We'll check you
Woo.
later.
See
Peace.
ya.
Merry Christmas.